Hey, welcome to World Entertainment. Knightfall. Batman Knightfall, which of course is the famous moment of Bane breaking Batman's back. Well, it's getting an adaptation, an animated adaptation, and it sounds like it's going to be a type of a series because it's called a multi-part animated series. Now, they've released a new logo, which you'll see and stuff throughout this, but one of the things that I think a lot of people will kind of be hesitant about is everyone loves these type of comics, the old classic comics, especially the likes of Knightfall and the Long Halloween and all that type of stuff. It's when they do the animated movie versions of them, people always feel that those movies don't quite live up to the story that was in the comic book, which makes sense being that you've only now, but it's usually around an hour and a half with the animated shows that you can't really dive fully into the story that's quite frankly made across multiple comic runs. But the Knightfall one would be interesting to see what they could do, and the fact that they said multi-part animated adaptation could work even better. But let's have a look at exactly what's happening here. So Warner Brothers Animation, DC and Warner Brothers, holy hell, that's a lot, even though it's not finished, Home Entertainment, have announced that a multi-part animated adaptation of the iconic Batman 90s comic book storyline that introduced Bane, Knightfall, is in development. Directed by Jeff Wemster, I think, is it Wemster? That's a weird name. And written by Jeremy Adams, the first part, Batman Knightfall Part 1, Knightfall, is currently in production and is slated to release at some point next year. It's believed that 3 more movies will follow. So, now, this is the thing. 3 movies, you would no doubt think it would be the next chapters in the books, like the comic books. Or, did they actually break it up and make Knightfall Part 1 basically 3 movies? You know what I mean? Like, make the 3 animated movies to fill out that story, and then you can do the next comic run. So that way you can kind of really dive into it. But it's continuing saying, the Knightfall comic book saga consists of 3 parts, Knightfall, Night Quest, and Night's End, and saw the Dark Knight meet his match in the form of the super strong villain known as Bane, who managed to break the Bat. With Bruce Wayne out of action, the far more violent and unstable Azrael took up the mantle of Batman. This marks the first time Knightfall will be adapted in full, although Christopher Nolan did use elements of the story for The Dark Knight Rises, with Tom Hardy's Bane breaking Batman's Christian Bale's back after their one-sided brawl. Bane creator Chuck Dixon had the following to say about the debuting villain in a 2012 interview, saying, "Knightfall was in the planning for a few months and we were all working on the issue leading up to it. We all understood that we wanted to create a brand new villain to break Batman's back, but nothing had been discussed about him. Danny thought we should come out the other end of the stunt with a new bad guy. A lot of the elements of the event had been worked out around the creation of this new character, but no idea had been put forward by anyone about who this new badass would be. We were treating him as a blank that needed to be filled in. We knew we would basically be replacing KG Beast in the role of the brutal but intelligent bad guy. KG Beast had become old news with the collapse of the Soviet Union. The KG Beast used to be. We also knew that he would be powered by Venom, the addictive super steroid that Danny had come up with for an arc in Legends of the Dark Knight. And Denny, promoted the idea of creating new villains with each event in the hopes of lightning striking. I like the idea because I always thought DC's villain bench was weak, unlike Marvel, where there were hundreds of great bad guys to choose from. I think that's still true today, especially with DC's penchant for knocking off characters left and right. Now, remember, that was back in 2012. It's interesting to hear Chuck Dixon saying he felt Marvel had the better slate of a rogues gallery. Like, he must be the only one thinking that, because no. Yeah, they had some better characters, but overall, Batman's rogue gallery was the better rogue gallery. Plus, when it went to films, yeah, Marvel hadn't a clue what to do with villains. All their villains were pretty much a joke. The idea of an animated adaptation of this story could be really, really good. But again, it's the fact that you're limited to so much that you can do. Like, how much of it do you leave out or change? And that's a worrying part, if they start changing stuff too much. And then, of course, the big question is, who do you get to voice Bane? Because one thing that Bane has to be is Latin American, because that's what he is. He's not meant to be an American dude or a British dude or anything like that. He's Latin American, so you really need that type of actor. Please don't be Pedro Pascal. But, you know what I mean? Overall, I think it's going to be an interesting idea. And for anyone who can't get their hands on the comic runs, or maybe don't have time to really kind of read throughout all them stories, it's an easier way for them to kind of at least understand what these stories were and why they were so popular. But a lot of the main comic book people, like the big supporters of the comic book runs and stuff, usually don't find these adaptations too faithful. They always feel that it's left out too much and it doesn't work quite as well. So it'll be interesting to see what their take is on all of this. Like, will they accept the fact that it's going to be 3 parts, so it possibly could fit everything in, depending as well how long each part is, because it doesn't say anything about like whether they plan for it to be like a 2-hour episode or movie, whatever it is. Which is also strange that they're calling it a multi-part animated adaptation, but which makes it sound like a show, yet they're indicating that it's movies. So why didn't they just say a trilogy? Which, you know what I mean? That's kind of like weird the way that's worded. I'd be interested in seeing it. Of course, it all depends what way they do it again, and what do they add in, what do they leave out, do they change anything? That's all the stuff we'll have to wait and see. But again, the one thing that usually always does really well and works really well is the DC animation. But this will probably be the first true animation, you know, with Batman, rather than, you know, Creature Commander or something that will be under the James Gunn DCU. So we'll have to wait and see. But what do you guys think of a 3-part multi-adaptation of Knightfall? Do you think it will work? Do you think they should leave it alone? Let us know. And with that, I shall leave it there for this one. So do like, share, subscribe and all that good stuff. Cheers, and I'll catch you in the next one.